Well, hi everyone. This is Jeff Hopper with Lynx Players President Jeffrey Cranford. We are back in the Lynx Players studio here in La Quinta, California, talking about spiritual due diligence. And we are on the fifth study, which has to do with death and life after death, perhaps the most compelling of all the spiritual due diligence topics for a lot of people. We're in lesson number 6, which has to do with the new heaven and the new earth. That the Bible teaches us that at some point in the future, and we find this in the last couple of chapters of Scripture, there will be a new heaven and a new earth. And that intrigues me because a new earth, I thought when we die, we go to heaven. Right. Why do we need a new earth?
Right. Well, first of all, a lot of times in Scripture, heaven, the heavens are really sky. I mean, it can be really translated
the
sky
heavens,
and atmosphere, sure. and a new earth. What will that look like? In fact, a lot of times Jehovah's Witnesses really find Christians that talk about going to heaven, and they find scriptures that talk about a new earth and a new really created earth, and therefore Christianity's wrong, and Jehovah's Witnesses are more accurate in their assessment of biblical truths. And so it gets off on this, and there's not a tremendous amount of agreement even among theologians as to what this really will be. I try to keep it simple. I said, look, so the earth, we know things are going to be, Peter talks about things being destroyed with fire. There's a day where there will be a cleansing with fire. Everything will be completely restored. So the earth that we see today, if it's a new earth, will be completely unlike, or in many ways very unlike what we see today, a fallen earth. And what will that look like? And people say, well, why earth? I don't like the earth. I want to go out to heaven. But what do you think about that for a second? What do you conceive heaven to be? Is it clouds? Is it angels? Is it harps? I mean, if we have a resurrected body where we can see, taste, touch, and feel, and I believe that certainly that's the case because it was a resurrection body of Jesus, we'll need terra firma. So what's the difference between Earth and another planet? Now, I personally, this is completely subjective and it's my opinion, but I think that we'll have access to the entirety of the cosmos. I don't think that we'll be relegated to just being stuck, quote unquote, in an insignificant little planet, going and orbiting the sun in an insignificant galaxy in a seemingly grand and wild, chaotic universe. The new heavens and the new earth, I imagine that we'll potentially have access to other places. I don't think that we'll be bound to this. I think potentially we could be exploring what God has created. I can't imagine, although I may be wrong, I can't imagine that God would create things and what we're finding, hundreds of billions of galaxies, with ever His creation being able to explore that. So does it mean we're stuck on Earth even if it's a new Earth? I don't really think so, but I don't find it odd that if I have a body that can taste, touch, and feel, that I'll live on a actual planet or a place of terra firma where I can taste and touch and feel and hold other people and worship God and do basic activities. I think we have such a generalized kind of an ethereal feel for what heaven will be, kind of floating spirits and apparitions and goodness and songs and robes, that it's not planted enough in the Scriptures, which is just, it's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, and you're going to have a new body. And so I have no problem with new earth. I have no problem. And again, some of this we have to read between the lines, but I think scripturally, yeah, we'll have a new earth.
I find it interesting that one of the things that people often are hesitant about in terms of faith is, well, I'm not sure I want to go to heaven because that's just all singing and worshiping forever and ever and ever, the same thing on and on and on. It's a concept almost of a shrinking number of activities will occur in heaven. And when we look at what God has done in the creation that He had, I would see it as an expansion of activities, far more things to do and enjoy in God's new creation for us.
I think that's a fantastic insight, Jeff, and because I don't know that I've been, even until this very moment, conscious of the fact that that's what I do believe, not a shrinking number of activities, but an expansion, because one of the things human beings fear the most is actually boredom.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's one of the things that we run from. We got the TV on 24/7. We got the radio on. We got to be around people. We got to be, activities. And so we run from just sitting there and boredom, or being in a cell and having no magazine or anything, or no interaction, or, that's why solitary confinement is one of the worst penalties, and kind of actually an inhibiting factor for criminals, is they don't want to be just stuck in a place in boredom.
Right.
And so if you think about heaven as being a place of boredom and something like a never-ending service where the preacher just goes on and on, or the worship song never stops, I think you're badly miscalculating what God's plan. And again, just peeking behind the curtain, Jesus said, some, in one of the stewardship parables, some are going to be in charge of one city, some in charge of 5, some in charge of 10 cities. And Paul elsewhere says, why are you quibbling and taking each other to court? Don't you recognize that one day we'll judge angels? I mean, this is an ever-expanding governance of maybe not just earth, but maybe the cosmos. I don't know. Again, we're reading between the lines, but the heavenly realm, the angelic realm, being subject to those who love and follow Jesus, it's an exciting possibility of, as you mentioned, and I think a beautifully put, expanding level of opportunities, as opposed to a shrinking, boring, boy, I can't have fun anymore. Trust me, you don't know fun until we get in the presence of God, and with His fascinating creative abilities. There's no telling what's in store for those who love. And the Bible even says that. It's above and beyond what God has prepared, for those who love Him. I mean, it's beyond your expectations. So set your expectations high and prepare to have them exceeded in a dramatic way.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you one of the most enjoyable pictures that I've been given in recent years. I'm not really a science guy. I'm the intricacies of these little things. But I'm prepared, and I'm excited for the possibility in heaven of having the greatest science teacher ever running me around, the Lord running me around. We know there's 100,000 species of beetles in the world, or whatever, Him running around, let me show you this one, look at this little thing that I did. And, we're concerned we're going to be doing this little kind of rigid set of things, and the Lord's going to be just causing these things to flourish for us, and just opening our eyes to things we really cannot see here. And He's going to go, what? Watch, and where in the way that no science teacher ever compelled me here, He's going to compel me for sure.
And imagine that after, what would it take to really get through and scrutinize what's on earth and His creation on earth, and about the time you're thinking, I think I got this pretty well handled. Oh yeah, by the way, I've got another galaxy, and I've got billions of other galaxies. Maybe He has another universe. I mean, look, we'll never plumb the depths of God, His love, His knowledge, and His creativity. And to be actually stated that we could be sons and daughters, you'd have to be a fool to reject that.
Wow, fabulous.